Hello again. It's Adam from the Adam's Corner podcast, and I'm here to do a roundup of some recent Blu-ray and 4K discs, the video version, as it were. I do a monthly podcast where I cover everything that was released in the space of a month, but I do a video version every now and then because some of you out there like to see the discs as well. And so, I haven't done one in a couple of weeks, and I guess one of the most anticipated titles for the month of June has arrived, and I've gotten a chance to look at it. And that would be Chinatown. And here is the back of Chinatown. This is has the nice reproduction of the artwork of the film, and then you get in the disc you get a copy of not only Chinatown in 4K but the sequel, The Two Jakes, on Blu-ray. So it's a pretty good deal, I would say. You get both of the cinematic adventures of Jake Geddes, as it were, and so the question here about this is the first 4K ever release of Chinatown. And to mark its 50th anniversary, it was released in June of 1974. So 50 years, that's hard to believe. Yes, I can't believe it myself. And I did, as I said, got a chance to watch this. And I'm going to tell you that this is the best that this film has ever looked on home video. It is quite striking, the amount of detail in some of the picture that you will see. The audio is solid too. It's typical of what you would find from a 5.1 surround mix of a 1974 film. It's not going to be reference quality. That's just not the way it is, but it's solid enough. And some pretty immersive surround effects and all of that. The bit rate here is around 70 megabytes per second. And so that's pretty good considering their recent release of Once Upon a Time in the West hovered around 35 to 40. And this is a film that's about 45 minutes, or actually about 30 minutes shorter than Once Upon a Time in the West. It appears that this is on a BD100 disc, so there's a lot of extra breathing room there. You get a new featurette called A State of Mind by Sam Wasson, who wrote a book about the making of Chinatown. And you get some archival stuff, commentary by Robert Towne and David Fincher, Trilogy That Never Was, which is a documentary about the unmade third film that would have made it a trilogy. Water and Power, Chinatown and Appreciation, Chinatown The Beginning and the End, Chinatown Filming, and Chinatown The Legacy. There are no extras on the other film, The Two Jakes. It's a standalone, but that's okay. At least you have it here. So Chinatown gets my recommendation. I would say the video is probably a 4.5 out of 5. There's a little grain in the film, in the video transfer rather. It's not a huge amount of grain, so if you're wanting it to be really grainy, you might want to think twice about that, but it doesn't look like it's overly been there's been a lot of digital noise reduction done either. So Chinatown on 4K gets my thumbs up. A quartet of recent Criterion releases that I'm going to cover really quickly here. One is these are all from May, by the way, released in mid to late May. Peeping Tom, which was the ultra-controversial film from director Michael Powell about a photographer who has this obsession with photographing women at the moment of their death. And it was very controversial at the time, and it came out the same year as Psycho, 1960, so both of those films were really influential horror films, I would say. Peeping Tom has deserved an upgrade. It was previously released on DVD from Criterion years back, probably about 20 years ago, maybe more. This looks great. It's a 4K Ultra HD release. You get that. You get the back jacket there. Extras include two audio commentaries, introduction by Martin Scorsese, interview with editor Thelma Schoonmaker, documentary about the film's history, documentary about the screenwriter Leo Marx. The picture quality is really, really great. Colors pop. Bitrate hovering in the 80 range, 70 to 80 megabytes per second, maybe a little higher at times. Really impressive transfer for Peeping Tom. From Criterion. Another Criterion release would be Girl Fight, and that is a 2000 film. It kind of put Michelle Rodriguez on the map. She's a teen who's having a lot of trouble finding direction in her life until she realizes she has a passion for boxing. And things are complicated when she falls in love with a fellow boxer who also becomes her opponent later on in the film. Don't want to say too much more about it other than that. This is a new 4K digital restoration supervised by the director Karen Kusama. You get audio commentary featuring Kusama, new interviews with Kusama, storyboard to film comparison. Trailer, really solid release on this one. And Girl Fight is a film that has been kind of neglected. Originally released by IFC Films, kind of neglected over the years, unfortunately. And I'm glad to see that it's been given a Blu-ray, a much-deserved Blu-ray treatment. That's good. So I would say the picture quality is really solid. It has a film-like look. Audio is solid too. It's a Blu-ray, so it's around 40 megabytes per second, I would say, in terms of the transfer quality. All That Breathes is a documentary about it was a couple of New Delhi brothers rescued birds of prey, and they decided to study the destructive effects of the environment on these birds. It was a highly acclaimed documentary. Again, All That Breathes, and it's quite an exquisite documentary. It's very well shot. It's a recent film, so 2022. So the picture quality is about what you would expect from a more recent production, which is to say, pretty impeccable. You get no extras except a new interview with the director. And Anatomy of a Fall is a recent Best Picture nominee. This is a courtroom drama about a writer who turns the material of her life into fiction, and she may or may not have murdered her husband. For me, the film just didn't really do the trick for me as far as the film's actual content goes. But it's a solid transfer of this, again, in the 40 to 50 range on the megabytes per second. This is a Blu-ray release, 2K digital master with a 5.1 surround. New interview with the director Justine Treat, deleted and alternate scenes, audition footage, short program about the dog who plays the dog in the film. Anatomy of a Fall, a Criterion release that if you are a fan of this film that was very highly lauded in a lot of circles, you may want to consider, you'll certainly want to consider picking this up, because it's good that it's gotten a Blu-ray release for those who do love the film. Moving along to some Kino titles, we have Crybaby, starring Johnny Depp. And this is a 4K Ultra HD debut for this film. You get the original theatrical cut of the film on one disc, and you get the director's cut on a Blu-ray, because they couldn't find all of the negative, so they could do a 4K restoration of the director's cut. But that's good. It's good enough. It looks good. The director's cut is solid. It's been upscaled, the footage that was missing. And this is John Waters doing what John Waters did best in the latter part of his career. It's it's definitely not as subversive as the early John Waters films, but it's a lot of fun. It's about Johnny Depp plays a heartthrob in 1954 Baltimore who has the talent of being able to shed a single tear, and all the girls go crazy, and there's a lot of he's kind of the kid who's in who hangs with a bunch of kids from the wrong side of the tracks, and there's a lot of classicism, I guess, and a lot of subversive humor, but done in a way that that would get the film a PG-13 rating. Let's put it that way. Which is not what you would have gotten from John Waters 20 years earlier. But that's okay. Crybaby it really looks and sounds great in 4K Ultra HD. This is the megabytes per second hovering around 100, 90 to 100. It's amazing. Those colors pop on the theatrical cut. So Crybaby is a highly recommended release from Kino Lorber Studio Classics. Another one that is a recent release is The Old Oak. This is Ken Loach's latest. Ken Loach is in his mid-80s. He's been making films for 60 years almost about the working class. Well, actually, he started with doing television dramas about the working class. So I guess he has been making films about the working class and their struggles. And this one is no different. It's about the owner of a little pub, the Old Oak, as it were, and basically, there are a lot of immigrants who have moved into their town, the small town, and they are impoverished. They're having trouble making ends meet, so he decides to open up an unused part of his bar and use it as a kitchen and feed some of these people, do something good for the people in the community. And there are a lot of people who really don't appreciate these immigrants being there, and it leads to all sorts of troubles. I'm not going to say exactly what happens after that. It was one of my top 10 films of 2023. I was lucky enough to see it last year. It's Ken Loach doing what Ken Loach does best. Deleted scenes, theatrical trailer, extras on this. Good-looking transfer as well. The Old Oak from Kino Lorber. And two other releases we have here to talk about. One is a much requested title from the early 90s starring Val Kilmer. This is Thunderheart, starring Val Kilmer, Sam Shepard, Graham Greene. A murder mystery about a hotshot FBI agent who's thrust into a strange new world when he's sent to solve a murder on an American Indian reservation. Like I said, no Blu-ray release ever for this until now, which is kind of hard to believe. But Sony, TriStar Pictures, Sony Home Entertainment releasing this. There's a commentary about the screenwriter John Fusco and the theatrical trailer. Those are your extras. So Thunderheart finally getting some love on Blu-ray with a nice transfer. And the last but not least, of Mice and Men. This is Gary Sinise, who a couple of years later would get worldwide fame as Forrest Gump's best friend, of course. In the film Forrest Gump, the Oscar winner for Best Picture. This is Gary Sinise directed this, and the screenplay here is by Horton Foote. It's an adaptation of the previously filmed Of Mice and Men, the John Steinbeck classic novel, also featuring music by Mark Isham. This is a really good version of this film with Gary Sinise and John Malkovich. A bare bones release, but this is from MGM Home Entertainment. And so I would vouch for this one as well. It's been out of print, but it's thankfully back in print. So so that's another, just the last one I wanted to talk about. But that's just a batch of new releases I've received, and just would like to keep everybody in the loop. So those are available at all of those places where you get your discs. And if you're interested in any of those, just know that I don't think you'd go wrong with any of them in terms of picture quality. There's nothing in this batch that really looked bad to me. They all were pretty stellar transfers, audio and video, and of course, Chinatown, the word has, people were really excited to know about that one, so I wanted to make sure that people did know that it meets my standard of approval. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, keep those discs spinning, ladies and gents.